Do you actually have to be on cocaine to be on this podcast?
It's a great day to be a Wildcat!
Cocaine.
Durfing?
Cocaine, really. Cocaine, really.
What's up, everybody? You're listening to yet another edition of Cocaine Willie. I am your commissioner, Bob Trollsby, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the good chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt Marchesini. Tonight, we are going to talk about our predictions for the Wildcats matchup on Saturday night in Lubbock, a blackout game against the Red Raiders. And we'll update you on our locks standings, and we'll share our Week 7 locks. But first, we started off, as always, with Fireball Matt's Burn It Down moment of the week. Is it a moment or moments this week, Matt?
Can it be a whole fucking game? I don't know.
It could be.
Could be. Oh, man. Well, I mean, if you want to have one moment that is all-encompassing, burn it down, it's probably Will Howard, zone read, 3rd and 2, and Phillip Brooks doesn't block. And Will gets tackled, and it's 4th and 1. And then what was the snap, man? What's the snap? We're snapping it to Bartlesville, I guess. I don't know. I don't understand. There are so many burn it down moments in this game. It was really hard. It was really hard to pick one because this game was just an all-encompassing crap sandwich. Is that appropriate?
Was this the worst game? In your opinion, is this the worst game that Chris Kleiman has coached at K-State except the COVID year?
Oh. Ooh.
Because obviously Arkansas State comes to mind.
Well, that's COVID year. I mean, Iowa State, we got blanked by Iowa State. I don't know if you remember that.
That was also COVID year.
Yeah.
Man, there were...
What happened in 19?
I don't know. But like 21, like that Iowa State game at home and that Baylor game at home where we just couldn't score.
That was an unhealthy Skyler, though.
I know. This game was just like this is one of the more shocking losses, I would say. Yeah. Because if you think about what we've seen from Oklahoma State thus far, they did not show in the first handful of games this season anything like they showed in this game.
But we said the exact same thing about Missouri, how like everything on tape was, was not good. They weren't explosive, and come to find out, they have 3 5-star receivers that, one of them we knew about, and one of them we played against at Oklahoma, and they're throwing the ball over the yard. So, I mean, it like I said, it felt exactly like how Missouri was this year going into that Oklahoma State game, and it kind of played out exactly like how I thought it would. Defensively. Offensively, that was a total shock, like you were saying.
Well, yeah. Defensively, it could have been a lot worse. I mean, you think about it. Like, we gave up a lot of yards in that game, and we made stops, so they kicked field goals. And that game could have been, 45 to, the fact that it was still a 1-possession game at the end of that game, I think is pretty indicative of I don't think Oklahoma State's very good, but I also, right now, we just don't look good at all. And I'm sure the team took this loss really hard, and especially a guy like Will Howard. A lot of people are giving Will Howard a lot of crap, and he didn't have a good game. I think we can all agree with that. But it was just the effort wasn't there across the offense, I felt. Receivers aren't getting open. We're running the ball pretty well. I mean, maybe a big thing was, why aren't we maybe pushing more rushes out there? But the offensive line that fourth quarter struggled. I mean, Will did not have time to throw the football in a lot of situations. And if you don't have wide receivers that are getting open and you're only getting a second to throw the football, your quarterback's not going to have a great game. You put Avery Johnson in that situation, I don't think he's going to have as much success as people think. And I wouldn't want to put a true freshman on the road in that position where I feel Will has earned the ability to try and come back and lead his team to victory. We weren't going to go 11-1 this year, but this is a game that there was no way in hell I was thinking we were going to lose this.
So similar to the Oklahoma State game and Missouri game. Those are two matchups where last year we beat the absolute piss out of both of those teams. They had that game circled probably all offseason. They probably spent time in practice, whether the coaches would have you believe that or not. Drinkwitz and Gundy probably had practice dedicated in the offseason to K-State and like prepping for our schemes and what we're going to do, what we're going to throw at them, because it was early enough in the schedule. I mean, they had 2 weeks to prepare for this game as well. And when I look at this schedule and I look at matchups that we have coming up against teams that we also beat the piss out of last year, you've got Baylor and you've got KU on the schedule. Baylor, who knows what they are this year? They just got beat by Tech pretty solidly, but they had that comeback victory against UCF. But you know that they're going to have that game circled because they couldn't even put a touchdown on the board against us. And then KU is looking like a top 4 team in the Big 12. We'll call a spade. They're a top 4 team in the Big 12 behind Texas and Oklahoma and maybe West Virginia. They might be top 3 right now for all we know. But, dude, like they're going to have that game circled. They haven't beaten us since 2008. So I'm getting more and more worried as time goes on. I
mean, you should be, but this is the thing. This gauntlet outside of Oklahoma and Texas, who we all unequivocally knew were the best teams in this conference, it's a crapshoot. There's no way you can look from game to game and say that this team is the worst. They're like the power rankings that, you find on podcasts and on Twitter and all this stuff, ranking these Big 12 teams. You rip them up at the end of the week because next week it's going to be totally different. Oklahoma State looked like the worst team. Everybody undoubtedly said they were 14 because they went, if you look at what they did throughout the season, they went 3 quarterback system, 3 game into the season. Like, of course there's no continuity. There's a little bit of continuity going into Iowa State, and they threw it all across the yard. They just defense wasn't there versus Iowa State. And then they get a bye week going into us. Like I said, just like Missouri, they had that game circled. We beat the dog shit out of them last year. Of course they're going to be ready for us. We got to go to Stillwater. It's the exact same formula. But these teams looking ahead saying that Baylor's going to be dog shit or Iowa State's dog shit or you can't say that. Everybody 3 down. It's all the same, dude.
Iowa State looks okay. Like they're looking all right this year.
It's gonna be a total crapshoot, and I'm not putting any game past anybody. Anybody can lose. Anybody at any time can lose and get that L. It's just what it is. It is what it is, buddy.
I don't like anything anymore.
Oh, but back to your burn it down moment, Matt. I think the burn it down moment for me, because I'm going to step into this.
Yeah, what's your grease fire? What's your kitchen grease fire?
Yeah, this is basically my kitchen grease fire. There's no recipe for anything anymore. I have no idea how this team's going to win any game. I don't know what our chances are to do anything. So I have no formula for that. But I will tell you what, the burn it down moment, as much as I tried to deflect blame from Will Howard, that was his worst game from his freshman year on that we've seen. So sophomore, junior, senior Will Howard, that was his worst game. And the burn it down moment was the pick 6 right before half. Going down one possession, as bad as you played, if you go down one, even if we don't score, we punt, whatever, you don't throw a pick 6 there. It's a possession game going into halftime. You can manage the damage control that you have to do going into the locker room.
And then
Could've saved
Oklahoma
the game.
State gets the ball back.
Yeah,
after
we could have
halftime,
saved the game.
Didn't defer.
Yeah, could have saved the game. But but looking back on it, hindsight's 2020. Obviously, it's a miscommunication. I don't know how that happens coming off of a bye week, but that's got to be a deep ball. You have to throw that ball deep. Phillip Brooks is running out and up. You know, it's right there. It's wide open. The safety ran. He bit on the route and got the pick. Like, that's crazy. So, you know, I'm not going to defend Will Howard for that because he deserves blame for this. But, you know, all this, you mentioned it earlier, you know, all this hate for Will Howard that we're getting, that's very reminiscent of let's get Will Howard and ship him back to Pennsylvania hate again after one game is blasphemous. He's got a ring on his finger that we haven't had since 2012. He's one of 3 quarterbacks that has one. So, you know, one of 3 quarterbacks that have one. So, you know, for me, I can't bury him. I can't.
I think I will say this. I do think the one surprise in this game was that we did not see Avery Johnson at some point. And it's not even when we were down. I almost expected a little bit of kind of what we saw at the Missouri game in the beginning of the game, of just kind of inching it out and seeing, you know, running the football. We were good at running the football in this game. So I was a little bit surprised there weren't a few opportunities for that early on in the game. But once we were down in that second half, I did not see any moment where you would want to throw a true freshman in there. And I'm not saying that Avery Johnson wouldn't have been like Josh Freeman when we played Oklahoma State, whenever that, you know, 2005 or 2006, when he was a freshman. I'm not saying that. But I think Will Howard deserved the opportunity to keep trying to lead his team, because I mean, he's a quarterback 1 for this team. And he's proven that in some time. But this was his worst performance since his freshman year. I think everybody can agree with that. And you take away that pick 6, I mean, you know, 7 point, I mean, it's a 1-point game. You take that away, and you just never know how the second half goes if you know, it's a 1 possession game. So I totally agree with you. I mean, there are a lot of moments in that game where you could have been like, what are we doing here?
I just don't know where you throw Avery in. And this going forward, if we haven't seen him, we've seen him 2 games, right?
Twice, yeah.
Yeah. I just don't know where do we see him? If we don't trust, okay, here's my thinking on this plan. If we haven't seen him and we've got him 2 games, it's obviously either he's redshirting, that's what the plan is. B, they don't trust him in the flow of the game to throw him in there outside in conference. Or C, you know, he's just not ready. But I think he's got to be ready. They wouldn't make him quarterback 2 if he wasn't ready. So it's got to be B. Like, are we worried about messing the flow up of the game? Because, you know, they always have that, if you got 2 quarterbacks, you got none kind of shit. So I don't know if that's it, but there is dynamic to having Avery play. But I don't think a wholesale change to a freshman quarterback from the defending Big 12 champion quarterback that we have, no matter, I mean, after that worst performance, I just don't see how you could do it. I mean, it's a bad performance, but it's not like send him back to Pennsylvania, Will Howard. It's not that.
I will be shocked if he plays this weekend in any way, shape, or form. Because if you didn't throw him out last weekend for even a handful of chunk plays, there's no way you're throwing him out there this weekend.
Yeah.
I number one, because I personally believe Will Howard will not have as bad of a game moving forward the rest of his Kansas State career as that game last week. Because he's proven to be a sustainable quarterback. And there were a lot of things on that offense that did not work last week. And you can't put all the blame on Will Howard for that. And I forgot to mention this, but I was somewhat disappointed with the lack of adjustments that we saw from what it looked like from the coaching staff from halftime. On the defensive side, I was getting so many flashbacks to like 2016, 2017 defenses where we're pushing 10 yards off wide receivers. I mean, I really was. I was getting these flashbacks of these older K-State defenses where you're already giving up 10 yards to the wide receiver. And that's how Oklahoma State did a really good job of taking advantage of that. And yeah, we're playing guys who, especially with Will Lee out when he got hurt, Jacob Parrish out the whole game. You're playing guys with some inexperience. I get that. But I was really hoping that we were going to test Alan Bowman a little bit more to try and throw the football over 20 yards.
It's literally exactly what Oklahoma State did to us is what I thought we were going to do to Oklahoma State. They pressed man the entire game and said, hey, if Will Howard's got receivers on the outside, you're going to have to show us because we got to see it. And they called our bluff and they pressed man the entire game, made it so much easier for them to throw people at Ben Sinnott and at the middle of the field. It was just so hard to watch because that's exactly what we needed. We were running Tom Hayes defense 2016, and that was with Will Lee in there because there was literally a sequence where Will Lee's 10 yards off. They throw it to Bray. He drops the ball. And then the next play, I think they throw it to Bray and he picks up the first down. Like, it's insane what we were doing. I don't understand what we were doing. I like you said, I get it. Keenan Garber's in there. He's been a cornerback for 8 months, whatever. But we have to make the adjustment because they're literally picking us apart. We can't stop it. And it makes it so much harder because we're throwing our safeties are so deep that if the freaking running back, that Ollie Gordon, who is a stud, breaks the line of scrimmage, there's nobody there to touch him. And we have an inexperienced middle linebacker who's going to shoot wrong gaps every once in a while. That's bound to happen. It just was it was the worst defense we could have played. We played it, and what the best defense Oklahoma State could have played, they played it. And I wish the roles were reversed.
We gave up 22 points in that game.
No, our defense was not the problem.
No. That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
We gave up 22 points in that game, and if you told
between the 20s, we were garbage. But when it mattered, we did our thing.
You told me that you give up 22 points against Oklahoma State, and you don't tell me how many points our offense scored. I'm thinking we win that game many, many times because 22 points. That's a pretty good defensive performance. And so that's the thing that really killed me about this game is just like it was the chunk plays that got him into the red zone, and then you make a stop and they kick a field goal. That's great. Like that's a win for us. And you don't come back and do anything on the other side. And who knows? Maybe this weekend it'll all change.
I do have a couple questions. So over or under 250 yards for Keegan Johnson on the season receiving?
Over. He's got to be pushing 80?
He's 73 right now.
Yeah, he'll get over. I think he'll get over. That's too low. For me, that's too low.
If you set it at like 300,
I would have said 350.
You think 350?
Yeah, he's wide receiver 2 at the worst.
I do think,
and he's 6th on the list for total yards.
I mean, he didn't play. He basically didn't play in 2 games.
He didn't get to play against the dud team that we played.
I think he's going to have a breakout game at some point here in the next few. There are a few games that I think the TCU game is one. Houston, I mean, you have to think about it. Some of the teams that we're playing at home specifically, where he'll have his opportunities to shine. I mean, I would not be surprised. I say this truthfully. I would not be surprised if he had a 100-yard game at some point in this season.
But this is if the injury that he has is what I think he has, which is rumored, this is what he's going to be all year. This is it. I mean, he'll be able to play the second half after he warms up. Because if you saw the Oklahoma State game, he didn't play the first half. Basically, it was RJ Garcia who also disappeared, and if he plays the second half, he'll get maybe 2 or 3 catches for like 20-something yards. I think maybe he does have a breakout game, but he needs to get healthy. Mind you, he's only a sophomore, so I'm not concerned. I mean, it is a disappointment, but injuries have derailed it. It's part of the game, and it's derailed him. It was unfortunate that it happened during the offseason, so we could never really see his full potential, but maybe he'll get there, and I hope he does, because he is a stud and he shows flashes, but if the injury is what I think it is, it's going to be hard for him to get where he needs to go if he's trying to play every week.
Yeah. So I talked a lot of shit on Brady Cook earlier this season for having a 2-to-1 touchdown interception ratio. Will Howard has 7 so far in the season, 9 touchdowns, and he's been sacked 7 times. So over under 9.5 more interceptions or 9.5 more sacks for the rest of the season.
9.5 more sacks for sure.
Over?
Yeah. I mean, what do we have? What do we have, like 7 more games left? No, sorry, that's terrible. What do we got? 6 more games?
7.
We got 7?
Yeah.
Maybe I was right.
Played 5.
Interesting.
Terrible math pod. A sack a game doesn't surprise me, and then maybe one where he gets a couple extra, like 2 or 3 in a game, that wouldn't surprise me. So 9 more sacks, yeah, that's easy. Now 9 more interceptions. If he's throwing 9 more interceptions, we got some serious. We won't win another game.
I don't think if he has another game though where he has 3 interceptions, then it's a real interesting situation. I'm not saying, I don't think you would get to a point where you get 9. It's either you're getting or
you think that's Avery Rubley situation?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I think that's absolutely the situation. Yeah. I mean, I think we all kind of joke that Will's due for an interception every game, and it has been very much proven this season, and you can expect with how things are going that would be the case. But I mean, one of the biggest disappointments I would say has been just the lack of opportunities for wide receivers and getting open. I mean,
yeah, that's the problem.
That is a problem. And if you are a quarterback, your offensive line can only do so much. And then when you get into a situation where your decision making has to be in less than 2 seconds, or you're getting hit and trying to get out of a tackle for a sack. I mean, I don't play quarterback, obviously. I mean,
never,
yeah, I mean, I've dunked plenty of basketballs in my time frame, but I mean, we can't talk about being a quarterback, and there's a lot of people who are armchair quarterbacking this whole thing. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot more than just throwing a football to be a quarterback, and you need help from your teammates too. So that's why, I mean, there's a feeling that I have that things could be good this weekend. That being said, when we get to the prediction, you'll hear.
But my thing, just to piggyback off of what Matt said, because he's absolutely correct. I mean, the new Will that we are seeing, I mean, outside of this last game, he's making throws that is a risk reward. He does put the ball into situations where he can turn it over, but you need to do that to score points when your wide receivers have no separation. So he has to throw darts. He literally has to throw in between coverage. He has to throw the ball a little bit ahead. So, because if your wide receiver is not creating the separation, you can't throw it on somebody that is blanketed. You got to throw it a little bit ahead of them to let them run under it. But when you're throwing into double coverage because there's a corner on your wide receiver's hip because they haven't created any separation, you're going to see some interceptions like the one in UCF where it's a read. I'm going to throw it to Keegan because I think I got to get it in there. It's a dart, but the corner jumps it. I'm not going to say anything about this Oklahoma State game because basically all of those were terrible throws. But give your guy a chance, Ben Sinnott, in the first game while getting hit. Like Matt said, the O-line, no time. I got to throw it up to Ben. It's picked. When you're a gunslinger and you're taking chances, because all last year, what did we see with Will Howard? I mean, he's throwing into triple coverage in Baylor to Ben Sinnott, and everybody loves that one because we fucking scored. But when the ball's intercepted, it's like, oh, he throws terrible passes. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to score, you got to throw into tight windows sometimes, and that's what he does. So that Oklahoma State game withstanding, that's what he does. So I don't think 9 is going to happen. If the over is 9, we're probably not winning too many games, so I could see Avery going in there, but getting sacked 9 more times for sure. I could basically chalk that up to like, give me that.
I agree with that.
That's fair. Chef, what's your recipe for success against Texas Tech?
The opposite, of what we did. Whatever we cooked in that batch was off. Was it supposed to be sugar in the recipe and we used fucking salt? I would bet that we did. So let's get back to our standardized recipe, find out where we made the mistake, maybe knock the degrees down a little bit on the oven. Maybe we're running a little too hot. Maybe we need to simplify things a little bit, because run the ball more, have Will not think so much. Maybe 1-2 reads, scheme some guys open. I don't know. Phillip Brook. You know what we haven't seen? Phillip Brook, those little flare passes, the little wide receiver screen to the outside. We don't see those anymore. That used to be the bread and butter of this offense, is just a little flare pass out to the wide side and let somebody get 5 or 6 yards, an extension of the running game. We just don't see it anymore. Maybe we need to simplify things. I'm not saying Colin Klein's not calling good plays, because I'm sure a lot of the stuff is open, especially from that Oklahoma State game, but we're having bad passes, a little misassignments, all that stuff. So I want to see it cleaned up, simplified. Let's try to get Tech on their heels and just run it at them. Run that to get DJ. Trayshawn Ward was great in that game. And what did he have? Like 6 carries?
Have we seen a jet sweep so far this season? I'd like to see.
We don't do that. We fake it all the time.
I was going to say this. It is incredulous how much we miss Malik Knowles this season.
Oh my God, dude.
And it's not even just with the jet sweeps, but it's kickoff returns.
Yep. I think Keegan could have done that if he's healthy, because if you looked at his Iowa tape, it was a lot of him running the ball. I think he's built like a running back too. I think we could have seen a lot. I think that's missing because he's not healthy. The special teams, we have taken so much of a negative route towards that. It is absolutely insane to me. We had a block kick.
No. I know. Yes. Okay, we did.
Special teams,
but starting the ball every time at the 25 gets old. And there are times in that game where we're fair catching the ball at the 20-yard line, and you're not taking a return to even give yourself a chance to gain an extra 5-10 yards in some of these situations. It is really a completely different mindsets this year with special teams than we've seen in an area where we have had so much success and been able to win games because of it, specifically in the punt return game and the kick return game. I mean, we need to salt and pepper up a little bit with those instead of
Put some seasoning on that.
Instead of Chef putting in Miralax in the recipe, and we're just shitting ourselves everywhere.
I don't know. I honestly, the special teams is baffling. I mean, but to Phillip Brooks' credit, I mean, he hasn't muffed any. Knock on wood. He hasn't muffed any. So the punt return is not that big of a deal to me. I mean, he is the most dynamic punt returner probably we've seen since like maybe Canty.
We're also going up against
or
the
Allen
in the Big 12 statistically this weekend. Yeah. So I'm,
But the kick return is weird because when we field them at like the goal line, it seems like we only get to like the 20. It's just like the blocking is not right. So I don't know if that's a Chili Davis thing. Is that the Sean Snyder thing? I don't know. They're like, we missed something, and we're missing something. So I think Matt's on to something. We need some seasoning up in that special teams unit. And I want our special teams unit to be fantastic. I think that would make such a difference with this team. My God.
Do we want to do predictions for Saturday?
I'm down.
I'll kick it off.
Yeah, go ahead, Bob.
I'm taking Tech 32-17. I think we don't bounce back. I'm going back with the Bob Trollsby reverse jinx from last year that seemed to work in every single matchup in the second half of the season. So we're firing up the pessimism machine this time. I mean, any team that lets Alan Bowman have more receiving yards than two of your better receivers, I just don't feel confident in that team going into a matchup against Texas Tech. But
Brendan Mott if Brendan Mott wouldn't have got like chopped at his legs for a second, I think he could have made a play on that ball because that was so obvious. It was laughable. The way it's just funny. I know obviously it's from the bird-eye view. Like we're in the crowd and we're like seeing how the receiver is running very much laterally and backwards. Like that's obviously a pass, but man, that stunk. But for me, this Tech game, I'm going to let Matt go last. I want Matt to go last. For me, I got the game 35-28. Very special teams negative, like there's no field goals, just straight touchdowns. 35-28 Cats. Let's go. I'm feeling good.
This is like the complete opposite of last week, which is kind of hilarious. I'm back on the pessimistic train for this one. Until I am able to see this team show market improvement on the road in execution, I cannot pick K-State in this game. I'm going to say 30-24 Texas Tech. I'm going to say it's going to go, it'll go late in the fourth quarter. And I think, Tech will score. We'll have an opportunity to drive down the field and it doesn't work out for us. The execution is not there for this team on the road right now. And until they're able to kind of prove some pieces to make that work, I'm on the L train for the Cats. So
that's not the only L train we're riding, though. If you're watching on YouTube, you know what's going on. If you're not watching on YouTube, you don't know what's going on. But it's our lock segment. Each week,
why does Matt spit that way?
Each week, we share our locks for 3 Big 12 matchups, 1 national game of the week, and 1 sicko game. For the first time ever, Andre's Locks takes the cake with a 4-1 record in week 6. And both Fireball Matt and I laid 1-4 eggs on the week, bringing the overall leaderboard to a much tighter lead for Fireball Matt with a 16-13-1 record overall. Myself in second with a 15-15 record overall. And Chef still in last, but close, with a 13-15-2 record overall. We're not going to review our locks from last week, but I've got the scars of my bad decisions tattooed on my face here. You'll see. You've got some Washington State on there. You've got the Rice logos, TCU and Baylor. It was bad.
That Washington State logo is crispy, and you had to trace that.
I did not.
Whoa, that's impressive.
I didn't at all. Okay, Bob's locks for week 7. You shouldn't take my advice because it sucked last week. I'm taking West Virginia -2.5 at Houston, the Dana Holgerson Bowl. Are you kidding me? West Virginia is only 2.5 dog or favored in this game? Come on. Give me a break.
Was that an impression of me?
Come on. Give me the Mountaineers all day, every day. Iowa State plus 4.5 at Cincinnati? Come on. Cincinnati has been probably the worst team in the Big 12 all season. Scott Satterfield sucks. He's a horrible play caller. Iowa State is looking salty. They are looking good so far through 5 or 6 games, however many they've played. Give me the Cyclones, please. Cyclones all day. BYU plus 4.5 at TCU. TCU looks like crap. They are god-awful. They're a horrible team this year. Sonny Dykes, we're seeing his true colors. We're seeing Cal Sonny Dykes right now at TCU. Give me BYU all damn day. The national game of the week, I've got Oregon plus 2.5 at Washington. Oregon's had much better tests so far this season. Give me the Ducks. Give me the Ducks plus 2.5 on the road in Seattle at the Alaska Airlines Stadium or whatever the fuck. Sicko's game. Rutgers minus 5.5 versus the Fighting Mel Tuckers of Michigan State. Give me Rutgers. Give me the Scarlet Knights. Those are my locks.
Oh my God. Can you even hear me in this thing?
Yeah. Oh yeah,
baby.
baby.
Sign me up. All right. Yeah. You know, historically, you should pick my locks, but last week was just a bad week. Obviously, like K-State, I let everybody down. It ruined my Saturday, even though I didn't watch football. Big 12. 2 of mine actually are the same as Bob's. So fuck us, am I right? BYU plus 4.5 at TCU. BYU? Those Mormons are going to do it against those Christians.
Durfing?
And then Iowa State 4.5 at Cincinnati. I mean, I can't believe that I'm going to believe in Matt Campbell in this game. My other Big 12 one, though, I'm going to Jayhawks, 3.5-point favorites at Oklahoma State in Stilley. I think KU is going to take care of what we should have done, and they're going to beat up on Mike Gundy's mullet. All right, national game of the week. I'm going Oregon State. DJ Uigagalegle. Minus 4.5 against UCLA. Like Jim Mora's UCLA. JK. I'm kidding. Chip Kelly. But I think Oregon State's a better team. I'm going with them. And then my sicko game of the week. My hometown boys, the U-Albany Great Danes. Reese Poffenbarger. Heisman contender. They're playing up in New Hampshire against whatever the fuck their mascot is. I don't care. Go Great Danes. U-Albany. I'm picking them.
You can get away with taking U-Albany for so many more times.
I know. You know what? I believe in the Great Danes. I've always believed in them. And to end this, my favorite quote from I Think You Should Leave. I can't wait to take this fucking shit off me.
You guys are killing me. Oh my God. You guys are absolute legends. And you're going to stay in those bags this week, baby. Double birds. I'm ready to ride here. So I'm going to start with my Big 12. It feels weird not having to get real close to the mic with my bag on, but I'm feeling real comfortable. So I'm going to go opposite of you guys. TCU minus the 4.5 at home. BYU, you're playing with fire with them horn frogs, baby. Don't play with them horny toads. All right, second one, we got West Virginia minus 2.5 at Houston. I think are we all sweeping that? No, we're not. But I'm gonna go with West Virginia. You know, Houston is dog doo-doo. I don't care if they're home. We just had a podcast. Oh, that might be coming out after this one. Anyway, doesn't matter. Time loop. Nobody's at this Houston game. There's no home field advantage. Give me West Virginia. That's easy money. At Cincinnati, doesn't matter. Go ahead, Iowa State, plus the points. That's crazy they're getting plus points at Cincinnati. You know who Iowa State is? Matt Campbell's fighting for his job. Come on, dude. That's crazy for you to think that. And then my national game, I think it's the same as Bob. Oh, God. You know what?
Fuckers.
I don't know if I should switch this up. I think I should just go opposite of Bob. I'm going Oppo Taco. Give me -2.5 at Washington. That's crazy town. Let's go. We got Michael Penix, who's he might be the Heisman frontrunner if Caleb Williams breaks his leg. So give me Michael Penix and them Husky Dogs. Give me them Husky Dogs.
I was absolutely gonna pick against Bob because I think Washington is gonna beat Oregon by like 17 points. I think Washington is for real and Michael Penix is for real. Yeah. It's for real.
I think you might be just trying to jinx me because you're salty that you're wearing a bag. But my sicko game, I need a definition on this sicko shit. Does it have to be losing teams? Because I just think I found one of the best games that nobody's going to be watching. Wyoming versus Air Force, 5-1 versus 5-0. And where do they play? That's not Fort Collins. Where the hell do they play at? Somewhere in
Colorado Springs. I would not consider this a sicko game.
You wouldn't?
What? Are you fucking watching that game, Bob? Bob, are you putting that game on TV? Are you putting that game on TV?
Well, if it's not on, if it's on at the same time as the Cats, no. But if it's after, yeah, absolutely.
See, yo, sicko. He's
absolutely. That's a sicko game.
That's a sicko game.
And if you look at this line, you're begging for only sickos to touch this thing. You got a 5-1 team going to a 5-0 team, and the 5-1 team is 11-point dogs. Oh my God! Give me them Air Force Falcons. Yeah,
Falcons.
Yeah, Thundery Falcons, the Lightning Falcons. Go ahead, Air Force. Beat Army and Navy. Let's go.
Sicko.
Not in my book. Not in my book at all. I think if the teams have winning, if the teams are both 5-0 or 5-1, that shouldn't be a sicko game.
A sicko game is a game that even the sickest of fans are going to put everything down to watch.
Yes.
And that is one of them.
Well, that was me last week watching USC and Arizona in 3 overtimes and having Arizona on the money line after halfway through the first quarter.
Oh, damn, that's tough.
I was pissed.
You should
made a lot of money on that.
I know our Arizona brethren are like,
oh, dude,
are crushed.
Schrodinger's Wildcat was he was in his feels.
And then to make matters worse, their like highest recruit ever, 5-star plus defensive end decommitted. Like, oh my God,
that was tough.
And he might be a Trojan. Ugh.
Oh, that's gross. That's gross.
Okay, also, I have not picked you, Albany. Great Danes to win a game this year.
I thought you did earlier this season.
No, I just stated to Sam. Oh, look at Chef. No. Oh, man. I will assure you that I did not.
Are we frozen?
No, you look great.
Oh, my God. I just got black boxes with spinning circles, so got a little nervous that we're back. We're back to the original way.
Yo, we are back to Andre's locks. Let me tell you, when the internet goes bad, Andre's locks goes down.
Yes,
I got a little nervous. I'm not gonna lie.
Boys, we have anything else tonight? Or are we good to wrap up?
I'm a little sad, but I'm also, I'm optimistic for the future because that was probably the lowest low that we were gonna feel in a while. I hope it could get worse, but I don't think it will. So I think another night game at TCU next week at home. If we win this one, we're primed, man. That crowd's going to be a little ravenous, in Manhattan. Do you think? Okay, this will be my question. This will be my last thing I'll say. If we were to go down in Lubbock, knock on wood, we were to go down in Lubbock, is that the checkout game? Because I mean, all the games were basically sold out, but is that the checkout game for a lot of the fans?
Maybe. I say maybe. Like, you've got what I would call probably two pretty. I mean, granted, we just had a rant about how from the 3 down to the 14 in the Big 12, it's anyone's guess, but I would say two of the worst teams in the conference in TCU and Houston this year so far. After that, so if you chalk those up as dubs and a loss at Texas, you've got Baylor, which could be easy, KU, which won't be easy, and Iowa State, which might not be easy. I don't know, man. Like,
I mean, wasn't this game like people thought we would go 10-2 this year? Texas Tech was a game. Losses. This is a game that many people would have thought we were probably dropping based off of what Texas Tech was going to be.
I didn't think we dropped Missouri or Oklahoma State.
No. I know.
That's what he's saying. Yeah.
So now here's the thing, and this is just with our fan base as a whole. I don't think we have been in a position where it's been a checkout type situation for football in a long time. For basketball, yes. I believe our fan base isn't as fickle with checking out, but nobody would surprise me. I mean, I think no matter what happens this Saturday, the TCU game is going to be a really great atmosphere at home because it's TCU. It's a night game, whole deal last year. I truly believe that our fan base is going to really show out for that game, even if we don't win this weekend. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just think we haven't been in a position for football where our fan base has been just so checked out in this sport.
Okay. When's the last time you were checked out on a football game? Or on a football team, I should say.
On a football team?
Probably.
I haven't been checked out on a football. I haven't been checked out on a football team since the Ron Prince era.
For me, it was honestly probably 2015.
Really?
That season with Hubner. Like that was brutal. The 55 or whatever nothing loss to Oklahoma at home for homecoming. That was tough. Stands for that. It was fucking horrible. That was probably like after that Oklahoma game, I still went. I think I still went to a couple games and I still watched every game. I've watched every game every season, but it's,
2008 was really bad.
Yeah.
That was my freshman year.
That was my senior year of high school.
Oh my God. That's
how,
not.
Yeah.
Oh no, it is. That is.
Yeah. I'm 08. Yeah.
No.
I graduated 08.
I did too.
So you couldn't have been a freshman.
I was. I know. I know what I was a freshman in college. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But that was a year where Ron Prince ineptly leveraged Josh Freeman's talent, but we lost to Tech
Nebraska
by 40 points.
No, that wasn't Nebraska.
No, we did lose to Nebraska that year. We lost to Oklahoma by
that wasn't the Martinez running, was it?
No, that was 2010.
That was 10. That was 10.
That
was the last. That one I might have checked out on that season.
Yeah, 2008 was just very bad. So I was pretty checked out. But I mean, for football, they always keep us in it. And did everybody look? I love my fraternity brother John Kurtz, but man, he put a tweet out there this week that really got me. Does this type of loss change something about like the trajectory of what you think about this program? And I respect everybody's opinions. Everybody knows that, especially your chef. But like, Chris Kleiman's allowed to have one loss. Like coaches are allowed to have a loss of full ineptitude. It's how do you like Coach Kleiman has showed with this coaching staff and the ability to recruit that you're building something here. And if people thought we were going to go 12-0 this season, I think that's insane. But I saw that tweet and it kind of frustrated me because you're putting that out there and we know Twitter and people don't come up with their own opinions. They listen to others. And I just felt that was very unfair. I felt that was a very unfair thing to say. I don't know.
What I call that is Chicken Little mentality. You know, there's no amount of things that could happen where they could just throw that out willy-nilly. You know, it's the sky is falling. It's one game, dude. I mean, I guess it was a very, very bad game, but you lost by 8 points on the road to a historically relatively good team. Usually, like if Mike Gundy were to go 8 wins this season, Oklahoma State fans would think that's pretty rough. But like, that's kind of what Oklahoma State is. They kind of win 8 games almost every year, and you lost to them by 8. Your worst performance under the Chris Kleiman era outside of COVID. So is the sky falling? Fuck no, it isn't. But that's what people on the internet, and that's what I've realized, that people's opinions of this, that's not their real opinions. I guarantee you sit down with them in a room, they're not going to say that. To your face, they're not going to say that. But to put it on the internet, it will get clicks and it will get people riled up, because that's what people do on the internet. They Chicken Little and the sky is fucking falling. It's not.
And we won in 2017 and we beat a ranked team in Stillwater, but we never win there. The thing with Texas Tech about this weekend, the thing that we have been successful in Lubbock. I mean, we've been successful against Texas Tech in the recent history. And that's why I have some optimism about this weekend, even though I think we're going to lose. But this program we won a Big 12 championship last year. And if you think that the sustainability of we're going to win a Big 12 championship every year because of that, this team is not where it's not at the same level as it was last year at this point. So I just felt it was I agree with you. I think it was unfair. Again, I respect John, and he's getting some free promotion out of this, obviously, but I respect him because I've known him for a long time and he's done some really great things in the media space for K-State and representing the university. But a lot of things that I saw on Twitter, especially Friday night, Saturday, even Sunday, I just felt was kind of unfair, even though everybody is allowed to have an opinion, especially myself. I think this team is way better than they were against Oklahoma State. They'll have the capability to show it this weekend and throughout the season. And yeah, maybe we're not going to go 10-2, but who knows? I mean, if they can rack up some things here, who knows? They could technically still go 10-2.
Technically, yeah. For me, the biggest thing is similar to what Stats of War Parker Fleming was saying, who hopefully will be our guest next week for the TCU preview. But he was saying it's important to look at development cycles. It's important to look at how teams develop and when that talent kind of peaks. That was what happened last year for K-State. Our talent, that development cycle, those recruits, being able to build that talent and have them reach that peak and bring in the right guys in the transfer portal and have them peak at the right time. When you look at guys like Cade Warner, it just peaked at the right time for K-State. And Matt, to your point, expecting a Big 12 title every single year probably isn't realistic for us in the current conference's iteration. That said, the conference is wide open with these 4 new teams coming in next year, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving. Who knows what this conference looks like 5, 10, 15 years from now. So that could change. That could also change depending on what happens with the quarterback situation next year. We don't know if Avery's going to redshirt or not this year. We don't know if Will Howard's going to leave the program, stay with the program, be the starter again next year. Who knows what happens with that? So development cycles are what matter here. And Oklahoma State, for whatever reason, they're at kind of a low point. They're also out of that development cycle. So when you get two teams who are at kind of a rebuilding point in some ways, although a lot of K-State fans would probably contest the notion of us being in a rebuilding phase. But look at who we lost last year. We might be downplaying the fact that we lost Deuce Vaughn. We lost 3 or 4 secondary guys who are now playing the NFL. We lost Malik Knowles. We lost Cade Warner, which is a huge leadership presence, and did great stuff on the field too. So I think it's important to look at the big picture and take a step back. And I think we all had reactionary tweets or texts we were saying on Friday night. But taking a step back and looking at the big picture, I really liked what Parker had to say about that, because development cycles are important. We will hit another high point in a development cycle at some point because, again, Matt and Chef, to your points, we can trust this staff to develop talent, bring in the right talent, know how to build them and highlight their strengths in certain areas and build on those weaknesses that they might have when they come into the program and make them adjust to our system that we have. So it sucks. That loss sucked. This season might not be what we all hoped it would be, but I'm still going to watch every game. I might turn it off in the fourth quarter out of frustration, but turn it back on like I inevitably did on Friday when I got pissed off. And it's just, we bleed purple, and that's just how K-State fans are, man. We can get pissed off and turn the game off, but we'll turn it back on before the final clock ticks.
I'm here to watch the world burn, baby. I'm going to watch it no matter what. If we're getting 60 balled, I'm going to watch every second of it. And I'm not going to check out, but I'm also not going to overreact. I promise you this. I will not overreact, and because these are people. These are kids.
Right.
They're playing a game. It's a lot of it is worth. A lot of people are getting paid. And, it's a job to some people, but I'm not calling for nobody to lose their job at this point. And, I probably would never do that, but this is too insignificant for us to be, losing our minds and raging on the internet. Who does that? There's a lot of stuff to rage over, but this ain't one of them. And I like the Cats, but I'm not gonna back out on them right now.
I mean, if we had a special teams coordinator, I'd probably be calling for him to get fired, but we don't have one yet, technically.
Yep, I mean, kind of Chili Davis. But
he's an analyst. He can't coach technically. He's just providing advice to the coaches at times when he can.
Look, this new chef of wearing tanks and lifting 10-pound dumbbells and drinking creatine milkshakes, this is the good chef.
This is the good chef.
This is the good chef.
I got bit by a horse the other day.
A whore?
Oh, take it easy.
And on that note, for all of us here at Cocaine Willie, thank you for listening to the show on your podcast feeds or watching us on YouTube. Do us a favor, if you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, leave us a 5-star rating and follow the show. If you're watching on YouTube, give us a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. You can follow the show on Twitter or Instagram, or follow us individually. I am at Bob Trollsby. Chef is at Chef Andre Napier, and Fireball Matt is at Matt Marchesini. Chef, get us out of here.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug, man. Come on.
We are all coke and no joke. Wildcat country.
Let's fucking go.
That's right.
That's right.